The following is an exclusive production of Minuteman Command. The Flagship Pod with your hosts, ESPN personalities Mike Corey and Rene Ingoglia, is on the air. Brought to you by Todd Fritz Roofing, with insight and info from UMass and Mac Insiders. From the Command Studios, here are your hosts, Mike and Rene.
Hey, what's up, everybody? All right, yeah, you see him. It's Christian. Christian McCollum is here, one of the founders of Minuteman Command. Rene is off this week. He'll be back next week. Christian, thanks for filling in, man. How you been?
I'm doing great, man. I've enjoyed, Mike, I've enjoyed watching these and being behind the scenes, and you guys do such a great job. So I'm honored to be here. These are literally, I was just thinking about it as the intro was playing. I think these are the biggest shoes I've ever had to try to fill in my life.
Just got to talk loud. You got to be excited. You got to talk loud. You'll be good. You can do it.
I can't match Rene's excitement. No chance of that.
He's great. Yeah, we'll have him back next week. But no, this is good. I mean, I wanted to let's let the fans kind of have an inside information on this whole site and everything and how it all came together and what you guys do. I mean, yourself along with Tommy Guy and David Bowden. Tell us how you guys all got together, putting up the Minuteman Command. You've done an incredible job. I mean, I'm serious. Like right from the start, when you check out the website, all the great content that's on there. We're doing this show. It's only going to get bigger and better. But how did this all get started? And just give us a little background so the fans know what's going on out there.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about it before a little bit, I think. But, I'm from Springfield originally. Went to UMass grad. Became really close friends with Tommy Guy when we were in college. Tommy went to college at AIC in Springfield, my hometown. So we became extremely close. Tommy's, for people that don't know, is the Hall of Fame AIC quarterback. He's a quarterback trainer now. And, my whole life played high school football, covered Notre Dame for 20 years. I've learned more about football from Tommy Guy than anybody, any coach, anybody. And we became really close. And not long after we met, Tommy and Dave coached together. So we became close with Dave. So we've all been friends for like 20 years. And after graduating from UMass, I majored in journalism, worked at the Republican in Springfield for 10 years, and eventually got a gig covering Notre Dame, as I said, for Irish Sports Daily. I lived out in South Bend for 3 years, moved back here back in like 2011 to focus strictly on recruiting. So that's been what I've done for the last, like I said, almost 20 years now. Yeah. But I always had my eye on UMass, like the alma mater, and, maybe should try to do something, try to do a side project here or there. And, when Coach Harris-Simiak was hired, actually before he was hired, I have contacts kind of within the industry, and I started hearing the plans that UMass had, how they would go forward in this new era we're in. And it all made sense to me. And then I knew Harris-Simiak was one of the guys on the short list. And I was like, man, if UMass gets him, that not only is that a great hire, it just tells me all the stuff that I had heard about their plan made sense, because you're not going to get a guy like Coach Harris-Simiak without it making sense to him and his people. So, once he made that hire, I kind of, I reached out to Tommy. I reached out to Dave. Dave had done some media stuff for Irish Sports Daily in the past when it comes to breaking down film and stuff like that. And Tommy had done some stuff behind the scenes. And we said, hey, man, what if we kind of got together, brought kind of our talents together and covered UMass the way, websites like Irish Sports Daily cover Notre Dame. It would be really good. And we think it's now's the best time to do it, right? When we talked about it, we were like, you got a new coach, new conference. It's like a new era. And we want to kind of come in and bring some of that coverage that, like I said, we do at Irish Sports Daily, where it's, video breakdowns. If you've been on the site, you've seen us breaking down, some of the transfers they get or some of the current guys or the recruits. Real football fans love that stuff, and then covering recruiting, right? Like, it's nice to know about how these guys are doing now that are in Amherst, but it gets a lot more fun when you're learning about the guys when they're in high school. And now you're like, oh, we really want to get this guy. He's my favorite guy watching film. What's the latest on him? That's kind of how stuff, drums up a lot of interest. And we think UMass fans deserve that kind of level of coverage.
It's been awesome. I mean, you're off to a great start. I mean, you've got a lot of great interviews, a lot of awesome articles out there on the site. How do you go about getting all that? Are you down there, your practice, you're calling up guys? Are you known them from before? Like, how does it all work?
Well, a lot of it is, down there at practice. So we went to just about every single spring practice.
Mm-hmm.
My 8-year-old got sick at school. So I walked in the bubble one day after the 30-minute drive to Amherst and got a call from the school nurse that my 8-year-old was sick, had to turn around and go. So, but other than that, went to every spring practice we'd go to, talk to the coaches and players while we were there, develop some sources, with some contacts I've had through some of the stuff I've done with Notre Dame, to get a little bit more insight, like what's going on here. What's UMass trying to do? That's kind of what as a reporter, we're trying to figure out. It helps you if you understand what they're trying to accomplish. It gives you a good idea of like what they probably will do and when they succeed and when they don't, because you'll know you were trying to do this,
right?
And you didn't. So, and as far as covering recruiting, it's really, one of the big things for me is just Twitter. Right? You can see it on Twitter. Yeah. There's a lot of different accounts. I know at Cursive U is one of them that, does a great job following UMass recruiting. You see a kid gets an offer, you reach out to them, via social media, try to gauge their interest, talk to some other coaches, sources, other reporters, whoever it is, and, get a little bit more information.
Right.
What level is this kid? Is this a kid that got offered by UMass, but he's going to get offered by USC and Alabama in a week, so maybe he's not worth doing a story on? Or, this is a kid that's got some pretty high-level offers, but he's serious about UMass. He likes the new staff. He's visited. Mm-hmm. He wants to visit. And then you kind of go from there and talk to the kid, talk to people around him, and get some more information on, how serious you think that, mutual interest is.
Yeah, that's what I like about what you guys are doing. It's like you're really diving in. You get the inside information. You give us this take on how these players are, where they've come from, what they do, what we could expect. Instead of just we're out there just being like, well, you gotta know. You gotta get the info. And when you develop the relationships with the coaches and the players, like you guys are doing, and like we've done, throughout our careers, I think that's only going to be helpful. And we're excited. I was at the first annual ScriptU Golf Classic yesterday, which was in Crump and Fox Club right up the road from UMass. Awesome golf course. I've played there a few times over the years, way back, because I grew up in Brattleboro, Vermont, right up the road. And it was an awesome day. First annual. We had a lot of great supporters there. We got done, Christian, in I think maybe 4 hours and 20 minutes. I mean, it was a scramble.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. It was a quick round. Now I think they limited it to 20 teams, which was great. Okay. So it was only 2 holes that had 2 groups, but we didn't really see anybody all day. And it was a fun day. 70 degrees, no sun, cloud cover, no rain though. It's really the perfect day for golf because I hate sweating to death, when I'm playing golf. So, but no, I thought it was great because just another event, another opportunity for more people out there. Coach Harris-Simiak was there. A couple of the other coaches, few players, a lot of the different sports teams, coaches, men's and women's basketball. I think field hockey as well, soccer, so it was kind of cool to see everybody. And they were dispersed out amongst all the holes throughout the day. So we got to see them. Frank Martin played a hole with us as well. So, but it was cool. And Harris-Simiak hit a couple balls off the tee with us, but it was a great day. So it's pretty cool to kind of get more involved here with everything that UMass is doing.
And a legit 13 under, I'm told, right? Legit 13 under.
It was legit. Unfortunately, there was 3 people in front of us. Somebody had 19 under. I think a par was 72. They had a 53. What did we have if we were 13 under? 59. But still, it was a great day. We had a lot of fun. So that was going on. Obviously, the whole house settlement news came down the other day as well. Not that we're going to, because you could spend hours on this thing. What's the breakdown for the fans, for people to understand about this settlement from your perspective and what you read? I read a little bit about it too, but I want to hear what you have to say about it.
Sure. And if people that do want to dive into it, Collegian sports editor Dean Wendell did a great job reporting. He had a really, really in-depth piece. He talked to Ryan Bamford. He talked to some other, industry sources, and really, really laid it out. It's one of the most comprehensive layouts I've seen of the house settlement, the whole talks. Obviously, this is a new era of college sports. And as I was referring to earlier about UMass's plan, this is one of the reasons why I believe that UMass has a really good chance of succeeding now is this settlement. So basically what it is, the NCAA, obviously they've kind of haven't been paying any of these players, been making money off them, all the schools for years. And there was a lawsuit and there's a settlement where they're going to give a ton, over $2 billion in back pay to some of the former athletes. And moving forward, there's going to be a revenue share. So, schools are going to be able to take the money they earn from athletics and give a portion of it back to the athletes, which, however, there's a lot of unintended consequences, right? So this is getting crazy, I understand. And but, regardless, college sports has become such a huge business with billions and billions of dollars that, it's hard to argue that the people that are out there playing it don't deserve a piece of that. So that's what's going to happen now. And, like I said, one of the things that, piqued my interest last fall was that, UMass is going to participate in that settlement, and that's going to set them up. They're not going to be paying like Texas A&M and Oregon and Alabama. They're not going to have, there's a $20 million cap. They're probably not going to reach that cap. But they are going to be very, very competitive with their peers, starting with the MAC, right?
Yeah.
So UMass is going to be able to devote a lot of funds to obtaining players. And so, there's a lot of different reasons. Obviously UMass hasn't succeeded recently on the football field, and everyone, there's always, this is going to change, this will change. Well, this is really like big business now, right? So UMass has money to back up their claim that it's going to change. And like I said, they're not just going to be competitive with the MAC schools. They're going to be in the upper echelon of these schools, and they're going to be able to pay players to come, pay players to retain. And there's a lot of different avenues they'll be able to go and navigate in this new world. And I think they're well positioned to do just that.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's the thing. It's either you're in or you're not. You know what I mean? So it's like, it sounds like finally, we're in, and we'll see how that money gets dispersed and, the kind of players you can get, and we'll take it from there. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Not go too crazy here, but June recruiting and some official visits coming up. We'll touch on that. The coaching staff, again, I saw them all yesterday. I want to get your take because you've been down there every day. The cohesive group that this staff, I feel like, has right now, which has been pretty good. Quarterback battle going on. I just saw one of them yesterday, so we'll talk about that. And then a quick touch on UMass basketball as well, too, as we get ready for them joining the MAC, too. So that's going to be coming up a little bit later. But what do we got? June recruiting, official visits. Where are we at here from everybody that you've been talking to?
Yeah, so the next couple of weeks, UMass will be bringing in a lot of big-time 2026 prospects for them.
Okay.
And these are important. This is the way recruiting has sped up over the last couple decades. These are very, very important weekends. This is not like Rene's days when you waited till your senior film was out, you mailed out VHSs in December and waited to come back and took visits in January and February and picked a school. It does not work that way anymore. These kids are making decisions sooner and sooner, even a year early, right?
Right.
So they've been able to start hosting official visits this month. They're going to have some players in over the course of the month, and this is where they're really going to be able to try to make moves with guys. It's one in the process. You throw out an offer, you get a kid to come up to an unofficial visit where you can get a taste of the campus, just an idea of it, and that's all leads up to, hey, we'd love to have you back for an official where we can really dive in and show you. So we'll have a ton of reporting on, who's coming for officials, who, their feedback afterwards. A couple guys worth really, really paying attention to this weekend. 2026 New Jersey quarterback Tyler Bell. I spoke with him down in New Jersey a couple weeks ago. Big time player from a big time school. He's from St. Peter's Prep. This is a national power. Whenever you're the quarterback at that school, it's a big deal. Right. So, and he's coming up for an official visit. He's already, hosted Coach Belcher for an in-home visit already, been to campus before. And I think this is a guy that they could get, right? I think this is a guy they could land. I know he's very high on their board. I know UMass is very high on his board. And he's a player that, could be the future of the program, right? So we're talking about quarterback. That's the position. And this is a big-time guy. Another guy that they're looking at hosting is 2026 New Jersey offensive lineman Christian Alvarez. He came up for an unofficial visit a couple weeks ago, got offered, and immediately set the official visit. So he's turning around and coming back. I believe he goes to Temple the following weekend and will likely decide between the two. And, talking to some guys, that's starting to be what it is. I mean, I know UMass and Temple, they're going to be facing off on the field here, to kick things off, but there's a lot of recruiting battles right now, them and Temple. So that's kind of how rivalries start,
Well, and that's good. We want that. Like, you want to be in a battle with a guy, with a like-minded team that, again, I think, and I've known Casey Keeler for a long time because I used to do Delaware radio back in the day, and I worked with him for 10 years. So he's a really, really, really good coach. So I know he's going to have that place turned around pretty darn fast. And I believe this is kind of probably his last stop, so he's going to run out his really incredible career there. But I mean, that's going to be a good team. So like, that's not bad, competing against, Temple. I know they've been down a little bit. Well, yeah, not for long. So we'll keep an eye on that too. But yeah, I mean, this recruiting too, of like trying to find, some of these great high school players, and these like, prep school guys too, like, bring them in. And like, I know it's so different today because you used to like come in and redshirt, you know what I mean? And then you developed and you learned the program and then you really started to kick some butt. I mean, I don't know. It's like a thing of the past, unfortunately. I mean, do you ever see that even happening with some of these guys? I mean, they wouldn't be the highest level player because they'd want to play right away, obviously. But I would love to think we can probably get a couple of dudes like that would say, yeah, let's learn the system a little bit. And they're not all in it for the money. And maybe they got a chip on their shoulder. I'd love to see some of that coming back,
Yeah, certainly at certain positions, quarterback's one where, the idea of coming in and competing for a starting position straight out of the gate is extremely rare. So that's kind of built in with the pitch. Same thing with offensive linemen, they got to get bigger. But a lot of guys, you don't lie to kids, but a lot of guys want to get the idea. They'll tell you, I want a chance to play early. They won't really define that. And in some situations, especially now with the new redshirt rule where you can play, up to 4 games and still redshirt, you can work a guy into a package where he can. Maybe it's a pass rush and defensive end where you say, hey, all we want you to focus on in this game is go get the quarterback. We'll put him in on obvious pass situations, whether it's the end of the half, third and long, late, teams up, and you just go get the quarterback. You don't have to worry about screens, draws, any of this stuff. So there's positions where they can get on the field. But yeah, like for the most part, that's kind of what this staff is trying to do. They're trying to build the culture. They made a big splash with the transfer portal back in December. They got over 20 guys. That was more about changing the roster now, right? We want to change the roster to try to win immediately, but the real goal for Coach Harasimiak and his staff is to create a new culture at UMass. Yeah. And you cannot do that through the transfer portal. You have to do that through high school recruiting, the people you recruit, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to build that up. And I'm honest about it. I've been following sports since I was 8, I guess. I don't know. When I was younger, I would have been like, man, that stuff's, that's just old people stuff, culture, all this stuff. Like I want the flashiest, best guy. I've been around. I'm old enough now. That stuff matters more than you would ever think.
It does. It matters more now because if you just sit there and think, oh, it's all about the money, who cares? No, you got to do like those other little things that would keep that guy there for maybe a little less, or he doesn't want to go chase that dollar because he's like, coach loves me. I'm playing. I'm doing well. I can get to where I want to go from here. I love this team. I love the culture. I love the school. The fan base is supporting us. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So when you get all those factors together, right, and then you say, well, you're just going to take off and go somewhere else and get it, maybe more money, but are you going to replicate all that great stuff that you love here? So you're absolutely right. If you don't focus on that culture, connecting with the players, retention, you are just going to lose everybody to money. So I don't disagree with you. I'd like to think that stuff carries a little bit of weight, when we're trying to build a program, not just a team year after year. So I'm hoping, you're absolutely right about that. And you've gotten a chance to kind of get in with more of these coaches and see them interact with the players. So I'm interested to hear what you had to say about that, because I've talked to them a few times and we can all say, yeah, they're great. It seems like they're really into it. What about on the field and connecting with these guys from what you've noticed so far up to this point?
It was really great to, as we mentioned, I went to pretty much all the spring practices, and it was really it's a small sample size, a snapshot. Yeah. Although they opened up full practices for a lot, which a lot of schools don't do. So you could really see, like right in the beginning of spring practice, it was a very, get to know each other aspect. And that is very different when it comes to football coaches. Get to know each other from football coaches means go, 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 go. You're going too slow. Right? It's not like, oh, hi. It's go, go. The speed, the tempo we want to practice at, the urgency. And, one thing I wrote about this is, the first couple practices, the offensive lineman had to realize if they're doing like a scrimmage, an offensive lineman goes false start, he's out. So the first couple plays, the guys false starts, they're yelling, get out, give me someone else. By the end of spring practice, that guy's false starting. Well, not even the end. Midway through spring practice, that guy's making a false start. Nobody has to tell him to get out. He's getting himself out. New guys coming in. And by the end of it, there's almost not very many false starts.
Yeah, good.
That's the kind of stuff. Then you could almost see, in the very beginning, these guys are barking at the players. They're not being mean, but they're holding them accountable. They're letting them know how things are going to be. By the end, if you got like close enough, you'd realize like a lot of those barking, it was like in jest. It was an opportunity for the coach to show you, hey, I'm just joking with you. I'm busting you here. I'm giving you a hard time because we can have this kind of relationship. I'm going to hold you accountable, but I'm also someone you can come to and relate to. Coach Harris-Simiak has always talked about the person more than the coach or the player, which is important. And I can tell you, when you're around those coaches, you can see that. Like they like each other. Yeah. And it's one thing to say that, and it's one thing to act that way. But then I would talk to other, recruits, parents, for instance. And that's the first thing they spit back to me, how tight the coaching staff is, how that's different from other places that they visited. It's real, and it's almost tangible.
No, that's good. I mean, and that to your point, it's like I was talking to a couple of the coaches yesterday. It's like, yeah, you want guys to go out there and make a difference and make plays and win games. Well, first, you got to not screw up. First, you can't beat yourself. You know what I mean? And we've already talked about it ad nauseum that happened multiple times last year. This is ridiculous, like finding ways to lose. But it doesn't matter. We're moving on. And if you could just do your job, you don't false start, you don't get penalties, you don't miss assignments. Now it's not going to be perfect, but we got to close that gap to minimal times that happens and not more. Then once you get that down, like you said about this false start thing, it's like, now go out and make a play. Now we're playing football here. Like now we're like, hey, that's an incredible, football play, So I agree with you. It's like you got to get that cleaned up first before you can even get to like the next level. You know what I mean? So Rene's off this week. We got Christian McCollum here from Minuteman Command for a few more minutes on our show this week. Can't believe we've done this. This is like the eighth episode, right? Like month 2 here already. Yeah. We're off and running. What is the countdown to Temple? I know Rene would have already had. I'm trying to remember. What are we at? Like,
what do we got? We got probably like 90 days, a little bit less than 90 days, maybe.
Less than 90 days. Yeah. I mean, it's coming up. It's coming up fast. And I was talking to some of the people yesterday at the golf tournament. It's like, I really hope we can put together some like really cool events for some of these like home games, especially like when the MAC starts up in November, a couple of those. You really got to hit this thing hard and help this team win. I know we've said it a bunch. I'm just tired of hearing about it. It's like, well, they got to win. When they win, people will show up. No shit. That's easy. Like, I want to get the support and help drum up the support now so we can help them win. You know what I mean? And be like, hey, I was there from the start. I'm not just showing up now because, we're good again. It's like, so. And then you mentioned the quarterback. I did want to hear from that because that's the position everybody wants to know about. Like, where are we at right now on the quarterback kind of competition and, who you kind of see maybe as the front runner as we get ready for Temple?
So obviously AJ Hairston, he's the true freshman last year, came out at the end of the season, started the final few games, showed just flashes of extreme talent, right? Mm-hmm. You would see it in flashes, a true freshman being thrown in, especially with some of the games he had to play. You're not going to have a ton of success, but you could see it in moments and more moments than you imagine. And then with the new staff, they brought in, transfer from Yale, Grant Jordan, and then they brought in a transfer from Utah, Brandon Rose. Brandon got injured last year at Utah. So he was, coming back from that injury all spring. He didn't really do anything in the spring. So you got 3 very capable signal callers, right? I think the thing with AJ, I think even though you saw those flashes, I don't think they realized just how good of a passer he was until they saw him in person. And just the way Harris-Simiak described it to me was elite. He has elite level arm talent.
Okay.
I think that is right on. I mean, it is up there. Just throwing the ball. Now, I think part of where AJ has some shortcomings is the mobility aspect of it. Like he's not going to be confused with Lamar Jackson or anybody like that. Yeah. And how is he able to move and extend plays just a little bit longer so then he can, display that arm strength? That's going to be a big thing for him. Grant Jordan comes in. He's, obviously a sharp kid from Yale, has a little bit, more mobility than AJ, probably less arm talent, but still very capable. And there was times in the spring where he made it really, really clear that he could run this show. He can run it. And he's not just like a subpar, game manager. I wouldn't call him a game manager. Right. He's got some real playmaking ability. And I think they would feel comfortable with either one of those guys. But the guy I think that has the highest ceiling is Rose. I mean, He is legit. He's a legit player. I mean, as I mentioned, Tommy Guy is our quarterback guru. He said when he first watched his film, he was wondering if he was watching the right kid. Like this kid is he's a Power 4 kid. He already played there. And he can do it all, right? He is, if he can come back healthy, and I think everyone there just doesn't want to jinx it because they're very cautious talking about it. But by the end of spring practice, he was running full speed on the sidelines. Yeah. Not hampered or anything. Didn't look like. I've seen some Instagram posts with him working out with his trainer back home. He looks pretty good. And if he's the quarterback, I think that, UMass is going to have a really good chance. But I say that I think that they thought those other guys are even better than they thought. So however it ends up shaking, I think UMass is going to feel pretty comfortable with the quarterback situation.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun preseason, man. Once we really get going here, leading up. Now we're inside of 90 days for sure for the opener. We'll close it out here. I was just talking yesterday to you before we did this today about, the UMass with basketball too. I mean, I caught up with Frank Martin yesterday a little bit as well. He, like I said, he played a few holes with us at the tournament. No, I mean, he's looking forward to it. I mean, they had 5 guys returning, I think 10 new guys coming in. Of course, we're still, working on the UMass documentary, and I know that brought back some memories for you because you knew what it was like. I mean, you were there. You were at these games. I mean, it was the best time in the history of UMass basketball.
Yeah. So as I said, my older brother went to UMass. He's 9 years older than me. We're extremely close. That age gap didn't always seem that. We hung out a lot when he was in college, and I would go up as a 10-year-old and stay the weekend at UMass. Everyone else thought it was crazy. I was just well, whatever. It's my brother's up there, and like I said, we're from Springfield, so Derek Kellogg, someone that my brother played sports with. I've known Derek my whole life. They lived next to each other in the dorm, so a lot of times Derek was the one that had the empty bed in the dorm. So I'd stay in Derek's room a lot. And it was just as a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid who was a huge sports fan, I was never in awe of Derek because I've known him. But the other guys, were just wow, this is cool. And I remember one time it was just, watch a Super Bowl. My brother had me come up and it was just me, my brother, and Lou Rowe. Just watch the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It's pretty crazy. And, cool. Like I told you, that sizzle reel came back. It makes me think of, all the different things that era, even at the time in real time as a young kid, I knew it was something special. I remember the rise from, beating a top 25 team to getting votes in the top 25 to being in the top 25 to beating North Carolina when they were number 1 to beating Arkansas to being number 1. I mean, it was insane. That was just an insane climb. Yeah, we're excited. We got our editor on the project. He's going to begin next month to kind of put this whole thing together. We got a few more interviews we're trying to come up with, and then really, hopefully before the end of the year, try to get this thing, onto a major streamer. So, I mean, I don't want to say any time period yet because you never know how it all shakes out. Still just looking for a few more investors. I mean, we've done a really nice job to get this where it needs to be. So if anybody's interested, like you said about that sizzle reel, just check out 283productions.com. You could watch it there and then get in contact with us and we can get you all the info. So I would suggest anyone that's thinking about it, I'll go do it later or something like that. Just send yourself a text message or book it or do something. If you're listening to it, go check out that sizzle reel. I guarantee you will be impressed. I promise you. I don't think Mike will say that, but whether you're someone that have the means to invest or not, Go check that out. And I promise you're going to be pretty fired up about this project.
Yeah. Thanks so much. No, it's going to be great. And this has been awesome too. We'll get into month number 3 next week. Rene will be back with us. Christian, great stuff. Great talking to you. You had a lot of awesome information and the articles you've written and the job you guys have done putting this whole site together. I'm looking forward to continuing this for a long time with you guys. So
we're so thrilled that you guys are with us, and we're so excited too.
Awesome. Well, good. Have a great week. All you out there watching, listening, thanks so much. We'll see you next week on the Flagship Pod. Take it easy.